Are you ready for the quantum age?
Humanity's next step in evolution?
Dream Vision 7 Radio Network invites you to the extraordinary platform of evolutionary voices for the quantum age.
Let's explore. Learn more about this upcoming age where we bridge science with spirituality.
Where potentiality meets reality.
Where we take compassion into action.
Our trailblazers and visionaries will ask the whys, the what-ifs, while igniting continuous possibility.
Come along with us into an age beyond what we know today, where we can grow together in unity consciousness.
Experience evolutionary voices for the quantum age, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on DreamVision7Radio.com.
Welcome to Radical Transformational Leadership with Dr. Monica Sharma, heard every other Tuesday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and every Saturday, 6 a.m. Eastern. This is a Dream Vision 7 Radio Network production on the Evolutionary Voices for the Quantum Age platform. To learn more, go to DreamVision7Radio.com. Monica Sharma embodies the mindful and compassionate change agent the world needs now. In Radical Transformational Leadership, she offers us all a map for action and a clarion call to become the change we want to see. Monica Sharma's voice, based on experience and conviction, strengthens the case that leadership can be shaped with equality, freedom, and justice, rooted in the transformational power of human compassion. I invite you into this most powerful show with Dr. Monica Sharma.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for introducing me and for introducing this work. Your support for this work is so important because there are so many of us who really are radical transformational leaders, and we can learn from each other. In fact, today you will be meeting another radical transformational leader, and her name is Pervin Varma, but she'll come after the break, and I will sort of talk a little bit about the context of our work. So Pervin has been working in a lot of organizations, so I thought a very good topic for us today would be, how do we transform organizations? And how do we transform the governance of organizations such that we are able to uphold human rights, such that we are able to uphold ways in which people manifest their full potential? So as we've discussed in our previous radio talks, we know that human beings worldwide value something deeply when they are allowed to discover or rediscover who they are, when they are allowed and permitted to question some of the traditional norms, some of the systems that are there, not to negate them, but to be able to transcend them. Because transforming our organizations and working on governance requires that mindset, requires us to go deeper. In fact, we say there's a huge difference between embodying values and talking about values. Not that we shouldn't talk about them. Of course we must, because if we are silent, then we allow what's not working to continue. We allow knowing or unknowing diminishing of people, strategies that do not allow them to manifest their full potential. And too often, as creatures of habit, we just continue doing what we've always done. And too often, cultures value their culture, which they must, but too often they never question what's not working. So we say it's so important in transforming organizations and transforming governance, whether that's in the government sector or that's in civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, or in business. So to be a paradigm shifter, that means that we shift the very way, the rules of the game and the principles we work with, we shift them so that we change norms. So to be this paradigm shifter, it requires us to embody the values. Too often we talk about them like rhetoric, and instead of only talking about them, can we embody them? And there is something joyful about this embodiment. It's not a heavy place. It's not something that's a burden. It's not something that's compliance. It's about unleashing our full potential when we embody these values. It's being able to embrace those moments when we notice we are out of integrity instead of really chastising ourselves and loading ourselves with guilt and shame and stuff like that, because those are very disempowering emotions. So for us to be a paradigm shifter, to be a principled game changer, it requires us to embody value. It requires us to avoid fundamentalism or any ism or any dogmatic perspective. So isms, fundamentalism, whether that's fundamentalism or racism or casteism or classism, all these have been created not because we wanted to become fundamental. Is initially we had rules of the game that society organized itself around, and then we were a little confused about the difference between unfolding from our inner capacities and noticing when ego has taken over and we want to dominate and we want to control others. So too often our isms are really the expressions of us not being whole, not being in integrity. For example, in the United Nations, along with other agencies, I worked in the UN for over 23 years, we made a significant contribution, along with others, towards a just and fair world for humanity and our planet through the process of formulating the Human Rights Conventions and then having declarations of the Human Rights Conventions. Similarly, the UN, along with other agencies, governments, and people worldwide, formulated the Sustainable Development Goals and other agreements. And what was very unique about the 2015 Sustainable Development Goals, that it's the first time that the entire world nested its strategies on equity. And the second thing that was so unusual is that the Sustainable Development Goals were formulated through series of citizen-based conversations. And they were formulated by hearing what people had to say in every country. So the third difference is that it is something that applies to both developed and developing countries. And I use the word developed because that's the conventional way we speak about it. It's economic development. And it's not about all the capitals that we really talk about in today's world. So ideally, we should be able to talk about social capital, human capital, the natural resources as a capital, but we just look at money right now. But if we looked at money, we are looking at what the Sustainable Development Goals mean in every country. And it's interesting that cities in the U.S., for example, Los Angeles, have adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, as have cities in China, in India, worldwide actually, to look at the foundations of human rights, of what we should do with our environment. And to me, the Human Rights Declaration, like the Sustainable Development Goals, is something that each and every human being can aspire to have manifest because that's where we acknowledge that each and every human being can aspire to live with dignity, and we can thrive in a planet where there is no discrimination. And that, to me, is a huge step forward in realizing our oneness, our unity. The human rights agenda is based on universal values applicable to everyone, everywhere. And when we can draw upon this thinking, not just as a national set of declarations, when we can bring it down to what we do every day, then that's the upholding of human rights. That's making the Sustainable Development Goals a household effort, an effort in every organization, an effort with every age. So today, when you hear Pervin's examples, you will hear how she has addressed ways in which we manifest ageism in every society, the way in which our governance is stuck in our traditional ways of looking at things. So we designed various instruments to address the violations of human rights and claim our rights. But there's a big difference between addressing violence as a polarized space, addressing violence in which we point fingers at others, and being able to notice when we are out of integrity, no matter what level we are working in. And to me, when I stand in this place, when there are human rights violations, I must be able to speak up and speak out to address them, to redress them. I speak to what is incongruent with our universal values, with our inner capacity to care, with our humanity. But I don't do so with destructive anger or revenge. I don't do so by hatred. I don't do that by knowing that others have the same limits as you and I do. I do it in a totally different way. I do it by knowing that human beings are human. We are limited simply because of that. And our actions may be unacceptable when there are violations, but human beings, as a human being, irrespective of what you do, according to the human rights world, I owe you respect as you owe me respect. Simply because we are human and there are actions that are not okay. So today you will hear more about this, because embodying our values is so vital. And very often we think that these human rights instruments and conversations on ethics, when we are talking about what's not okay, is about pointing fingers and making others wrong. Let's focus on getting the job done and forget, we say, about all these human rights stuff. We don't have time for that. But human rights and ethics are primarily about embodying the values that underpin these instruments by everybody. Everybody, no matter how high up they are in the hierarchy, this is not beyond anybody. It's not hierarchy-based. Everybody needs to be part of this process and leading towards the highest quality of life for every human being and for humanity, where everyone lives with dignity, thrives without discrimination, and are whole with integrity. Wow, that's joyful. So embodying human rights in our world of institutions, in our world of how we look at governance, is so important. And by governance, I don't mean government. I mean the governance of our institutions, whether that's business, whether that's non-governmental organizations, or citizen groups, senior citizens, youth, everybody.